In the rest of this course, we're going to compute the market equilibria of many examples. Because of that, I want to review what are the steps that you need to follow in computing such equilibria. So step one is that you want to compute the aggregate demand function, xd of p. Now, how do you compute that? You compute the demand function for every individual, and you use horizontal demand. Step two, you want to compute the aggregate supply function, x of p. How do you do that? You compute the individual supply curves, and then you add up horizontally. Step three, you compute the equilibrium price, P star, by solving the equation xd of p equals xs of p. You find the price that clears the market. And finally, step four, sometimes we need it, sometimes we don't. So if necessary, if needed, you can characterize or compute the equilibrium allocation alpha star. How do you do that? Once you know the market prices, you can go back to the individual demand and supply functions to characterize how much is consumed by every consumer or produced by every firm. Now let's do an example to practice how to compute the competitive market equilibrium. In this side of the page, I'm going to put the data. We're going to assume that there are 100 identical consumers with the following features. Their wealth is 100 units of M. Then the preferences, the decision utility, is just given by this. And they own an equal amount. Everybody owes an equal amount of every firm. And then we're also going to assume that there are 10 identical firms, competitive firms, that are price takers. And each one of them has a cost function, a technology that generates a cost function equals to 1/2 of Q squared. And the question is, what is the competitive equilibrium price and the competitive equilibrium allocation? So let's solve it on this side. We have seen this kind of utility maximization problem before, and we know that it's going to generate individual demand functions of the form xid of p equals to 100 over p squared. This is for all I, and this implies that the aggregate demand function for the market is a horizontal addition of 100 times this, which is 10,000 divided by p squared. Now, we've also seen how to derive supply functions for firms that look like this, and we have that for every firm, the supply is going to look like P. This is for every firm, which implies that the aggregate supply for the market is going to look like this. It's 10 times that, which is just 10P. Now, how do we compute the market equilibrium? So to compute, or P star is given by the solution to aggregate supply equals aggregate demand, so 10P equals to 10,000 over P squared, that has a solution of P star equals 10. So now we know the equilibrium market price. How do we compute the equilibrium allocation? Let me finish that on this side. The first thing that we want to do is look at the production of the firms. And if we go back and substitute the equilibrium price on the individual firms, we get that the quantity supplied by every firm is equal to 10 units of X. Okay. The next thing that we can do is we can compute what are the profits of the firm at equilibrium, and that is going to be equal to the price times the quantity sold minus the cost of the quantity sold. And if we substitute the numbers, this is just 10 times 10, 100, minus 1/2 of Q squared, of the quantity produced, which is 100, which is 50. So these are the profits per firm. Now, what about the demand side, the consumer side? Well, if we go back, we get that every consumer, I, is consuming 100 divided by P squared, which is at 100, so 1 unit. That is of good X. What about of good M? Well, they consume their wealth, 100, minus the cost of buying the good that they buy, which is P star, which is 10 times 1 unit, plus the profits that they get. And everybody there are 10 firms that make $500 in total in profits, and everybody owns 1% of that, so this is plus 5. So that means that the total consumption of good M is $95. And that's it.